All right, everybody, places, people. What's going on here? Oh, this is interesting. Meta is cutting 600 jobs in its AI unit because, ironically, they did such a great job developing AI that now everybody can be replaced by AI. Hi, I'm Kenny Webster. Thanks so much for joining us for a live streamed edition of Kenny Webster's Pursuit of Happiness Radio with a room full of Harris County right-wing, heavy-hitting, conservative garbage Nazis. On the left
Garbage Nazis.
On the left of me right now, Rolando Garcia, explain what your position is in the Texas State Republican Party.
Well, I am a state Republican executive committee man, and what that means is that basically I'm on the board of directors of the Republican Party of Texas. It's a volunteer position. So if you're pissed off about what the state party is doing or not doing, you can let me know.
And in addition to that, sitting to your left, directly across from me, he is the arm candy to Texas Republican Party attorney Rachel Hooper, Don Hooper, but he's a man of his own accolades. Don Hooper actually created the Houston Conservative Forum, which has been really important to help motivate and educate local right-wing voters in local elections. For how long have you been doing it now at this point?
Probably 20 years, I think.
That's quite a while. Put that mic closer to your mouth there.
Yeah, so 20 years, started in earnest, probably writing on Big Jolly Politics. And
I know that website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I wrote there for probably 6 or 7 years, maybe.
Very
Quite
cool.
a few number of years.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And then David Jennings, who had started it, interestingly enough, David was the Lone Star Times, got started with Dan Patrick, and then the three guys that started Lone Star Times all went different directions, and David started Big Jolly Politics, and I didn't like what David was writing. He said, well, then you ought to write. I went, okay, I will.
All right, so there's kind of like two factions of the conservatives here in Southeast Texas, and one like the Dick Weekly Republicans and then the Don Hooper Republicans. Is that how you'd explain it? Obviously, right?
Well, I
the
think,
Don Hooper Republicans.
yeah. The more establishment Republicans, I guess, versus the conservatives that are, and that's a fight that's played out at the state party and at the local party.
I kind of get along well with everyone, but I will admit that the Dick Weekly Republicans have never invited me to a single cocktail party. Not at once have I been invited to the bacon wrapped shrimp buffet. Never, not allowed at that. But some of his underlings I seem to get along with. I think it's because I made a lot of jokes about his name. It's right there. Like, what am I? It's not my fault. It's not my fault your name is Dick Weekly. Whose fault is that? Really feel like your name's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. You can't blame me. I invited both of you here for two different reasons. Number one, Rolando, one of my favorite people to interview about local political causes. I never had you in studio before. And Don, I could say the same thing about you, but more specifically in your case, and let me get it up on the screen here. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. You have your, where is it? Your early voting guide. Early voting is happening right now around the state of Texas. And I feel like, although we didn't have a No Kings rally last weekend to motivate us while we dressed up in furry kitty outfits and spanked each other at an LGBTQ pride crosswalk in Montrose, we do have this talk radio program to remind everybody that even though it's not the sexiest, most salacious, exciting election you've ever been involved in, there are some relatively important things here that we're voting on. And Don, you did a pretty good job of breaking down, like, what was the more conservative way to vote on these props? What is the liberal Houston Chronicle saying to people? And then a couple of local right-leaning, more libertarian, Republican Liberty Caucus would be a right-wing libertarian. Texas Policy Research, probably center libertarian position, I would think. And I like how you did that, because you're just telling people how to vote, not telling people how to vote, but telling people how other people are voting.
Right. As compared to mine, yes.
But before we get into what you wrote about this, Rolando, how do you explain to people, you had an easy way to, no one's going to memorize 17 or 18 props, right? I don't even know my own sister's birthday. How am I going to remember this?
Yeah,
you know?
there's 17 amendments. Some are more important than others. But what I've been telling people, and Don may disagree, is that conservatives should vote for most of them, except number 1, number 4, and number 14, because those are the three that spend money. All the others deal with various types of tax cuts, tax exemptions, and of course Prop 3, which deals with bail. That's very important. And of course, one of them raises the homestead exemption for those, property taxes.
Right.
One of them would raise the homestead exemption. So lots of good stuff in there. So but you don't have to know all about them. But the only three that you might want to vote against are number 1, number 4, and number 14.
And we agree perfectly.
Although I will be voting for number 4, and I can explain why, but I can understand why conservatives would vote against that one. But those three are the only ones you need to look at closely.
All right, let's talk about 14 real quick because it deserves the least amount of attention. Dementia Research Fund. So this money would go directly to Joe Biden, Don, is that correct?
Well, and Rolando, help me, because I wrote this a while back. And so the Dementia Research Fund just sets up another fund outside of the state budget that can be manipulated other than by politicians.
Why a Dementia Research
Well,
Fund? Where did this come from?
dementia research is very important.
Absolutely.
However, it's very important, and it does cost the state government money because where Medicaid funding goes to long-term nursing care in nursing homes. So dementia is very important. However, there's already a lot of money being devoted to dementia research. And, I think conservatives would look at this and say, well, do we know that throwing even more billions at it would lead to a cure or to any prevention? So I think conservatives need to be very careful about number 14, which would simply throw more money into a field that is already very well funded.
All right,
in a lockbox that's controlled by X, that you could have anybody managing that fund, somebody that is looking for a payday, or in the state government has kind of done these things as standalone budgets that don't have to answer to politicians, and I just think they're dangerous.
All right, I think I would agree with you guys. I think the most important thing on here is mandatory bail denial. You are for this vote. The two libertarian groups you highlighted here are against it. Interestingly enough, the Houston Chronicle was also for it. Why do you guys think that is?
That scared me.
I mean, were you
Well,
surprised?
occasionally, like every once in a while, the Chronicle will get it right.
Yeah.
And so they got it right this one time.
I don't mean to brag, but the Chronicle has been publishing my op-eds.
Wow.
And they've let me say almost anything that I want. I'm working on my third op-ed right now, and I think it's the newspapers realized they've had a realization.
They're realizing they're losing readers, and they realize that they can't simply count on aging boomer liberals.
Right, exactly. And to that point, guess what conservatives like? Old school media. I mean, we're on the internet right now. This podcast gets tens of thousands of downloads a day. But still, tens of thousands of people just listen to talk radio on good old-fashioned AM radio. They would those same kind of people would probably also buy a newspaper and hold it at a piece of paper, but I don't think liberals are going to do that. They've invested in the wrong group of people. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and that's why newspapers are dying off.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people does Hearst keep laying off?
Yeah, and the Chronicle does have a new editor or opinion editor, Evan Mintz.
Thoughts on Evan?
He has me blocked, and he has had me blocked for a number of years. He came over from the Arnold Foundation, but he also came from so he went from the Chronicle to the Arnold Foundation, and now from the Arnold Foundation back to the Chronicle.
I know that Evan Mintz and I are politically opposites, but when I have had friendly debates with him, he's very polite to me. We agree on some stuff in the middle there, and and again, he lets me say whatever I want in his newspaper. So I'm a little biased on Evan Mintz.
Yeah,
well, it's promising that he's at least trying to get one conservative voice.
Yeah, Evan is a very committed socialist, and he'll tell you that. And his politics have been very dangerous. At one time, he worked for the Harris County District Attorney's Office in the Communications Division. Did you know that?
Who was the DA at the time?
It was Pat Likas.
So this is before Kim and before Sean. And
oh yeah. No, this is a long time, and I don't think he was there for very long. Matter of fact, I didn't even know he was there until one time he told me that at lunch. I went, "What?" And so, therefore, he's an expert on all things criminal justice. Not, but I have a theory about the Chronicle. The Chronicle will take one position that's pretty radical and vote with conservatives on every election cycle. It could be a candidate or it could be a cause. I think this is their cause.
Well, on that note, one person that's running for Senate right now who they have endorsed in previous years when he was running for Congress was Wesley Hunt. Wesley Hunt is the only person I'm aware of who has ever rejected a Houston Chronicle endorsement. And when we get back from break, we're going to talk about the Senate race he is now involved in.
Stop it, government. Get out of my life.
You're listening to The Pursuit of Happiness Radio.
Hey, everybody, quick reminder, the Walton & Johnson Show is getting ready for the holidays right now, and we want you guys to be part of it as well. If you check out our website at ilovewj.com, you're not going to believe all the really cool stuff we have available right now. Like this great coffee mug, for example, that says, atomize the Intifada, which apparently means kill all the Muslim extremists. Now, I didn't put that on the coffee mug if that offends you, but if it doesn't offend you, you can buy that coffee mug and put it in a stocking and give it to your loved ones. We've got Gulf of America stuff. We've got Doge stuff. We've got the Department of War stuff. A lot of great things at ilovewj.com. Hit it up right now for all of your gift-giving needs. Order now, have it in time for Christmas. Stand by, we're going back on the air. All right, kids. An 80-year-old became the oldest woman to hike the Appalachian Trail. This won't be the last time she gets a view from really high up, I'm guessing. Hi, welcome back from break. I'm Kenny Webster, and that was a joke about old people dying, and I'm not proud of it. But you know what? We're all going to die someday, right, Rolando?
Apparently.
Yeah, but hopefully not today. Don Hooper, you're in the room right now. I'm a millennial. You're a millennial. You would qualify, what, Gen X, I'm guessing?
I'm 64. I'm a boomer.
You're a boomer. And you're retired. And with your retirement, you've decided to get very involved in local politics. What is it about self-deprecation and pain that you enjoy so much, Don?
Well, actually, when I was operating my company, I was involved with politics. That never stopped. And I kind of started my professional career in politics. I was working as a land developer in California, and that is all politics. You had to be friendly with a lot of unsavory people and smoozing unsavory people to get your entitlements to build your projects. And
yeah.
So that's kind of how I got involved with it.
Right on. I got into politics from prank phone calls and fart jokes. So that's...
And I remember you in Chicago with Mancow.
Yeah, I was on the Mancow show. I was DJ Crazy Lips. I would beatbox the news. That was almost 20 years ago. And as you can see, things are going great for me. I'm doing almost the exact same thing. Rolando, how did you get involved in all this? What made you decide to be political?
I've always been conservative. Then around 2010, during the Tea Party wave, the backlash against Obama, I thought, and instead of just watching Fox News and being angry, I need to actually volunteer in local campaigns and, try to make a difference. And so I did. And the one thing about politics is, if you're willing to do more and more work for free, they'll give you more titles.
Yeah.
Isn't that nifty?
Isn't that amazing?
They give you titles in return for free work.
So it's a lot like corporate America in that regard.
Yeah, it is.
You're not going to get a pay raise, but we'll give you a better parking spot.
Yes.
And I will say Rolando is one of the best block walkers, and he really takes care of his precinct and his area better than any. Well, I would say there's maybe. No, I think Rolando leads activism as far as being able to work a precinct in his area by far and away more than any other precinct.
When I see people go out and campaign either for themselves or for a campaign they claim to be working for, and I'm trying to figure out, is this person running for office or are they running for Twitter followers?
Right.
That's the thing I always ask them. Like there's this woman in Dan Crenshaw's district who has 9 aliases,
right.
And she's was accused of bigamy and a bunch of other, and she just campaigns on Twitter. I'm like, you're not a real candidate.
There's a lot of candidates like that, unfortunately.
Like a guy that just moved to Texas, bought a cowboy hat, voted in one election, moved into an RV park, and said he was going to run for governor. That kind of a thing. Is that?
Yes, I assume you're referring to our friend Doc Pete Chambers.
Doc, why does he put Doc in quotes? Do you think?
I don't know. Is that part of his real name? Part of his legal name now?
I just know he's a holistic medicine expert. He must know what he's talking about.
That must be important.
All right, let's talk about this because all three of us do agree on one thing for sure: closed primaries. Yes. I've had a handful of people, including, no offense, Bill King and a couple other people whose names I reach out to me privately and tell me, Kenny, I want to talk to you about why the primaries need to stay open. And they're like, it's really complicated. It takes a long time to explain. Well, it shouldn't.
It's not complicated.
It shouldn't be complicated at all, Rolando.
It's very simple. It's very simple. Republicans should choose Republican nominees, not Democrats or other non-Republicans. And every person who tells you that they're opposed to closed primaries, every single one, they are moderate or liberal Republicans who always support the most liberal Republican in every primary.
And are dependent on Democrat votes to get elected.
No, that's what I'm saying. So they count on Democrats entering the Republican primary to choose the most liberal Republican option. You will rarely find an actual conservative who believes we should keep the primaries open.
Don, I'm going to ask you a question, and if you don't feel comfortable answering this on the air right now, that's fine. But this kind of relates to something you and I noticed. There were not a lot of people from the Harris County Republican Party at that rally we did last month with the kids from Stratford High School for Club America and TPUSA. Do you think that had anything to do with this?
I do, because I do think that there's an active campaign within the Harris County Republican Party and probably the governor's office, because I think the governor's paying for it.
I think the governor also benefits from open primaries.
Yeah.
For sure he does.
And I think,
John Cornyn.
Yeah, and I do think there's an active effort to recruit Democrats into voting for Republican candidates and then more moderate to Democrat precinct chairs to switch over to do that. And you see that actually we have a candidate running against Cindy Siegel that was, actively recruiting Democrats to become precinct chair.
Who was that?
Shel Burchard.
And what became of that person?
Oh, she's still there. She's still running.
All right. Rolando, what do you think about what Don just said?
I don't want to overstate the issue with open primaries. It's not that millions of Democrats are voting in the Republican primary.
But it's
However,
enough.
it's enough to make a difference in close races. When you have a close race, for example, if the Senate race with Cornyn, Wesley Hunt, and Paxton is close, then the Democrats could make a difference. It already made a difference in reelecting Dade Phelan. Dade Phelan is still in the House because Democrats crossed over in his primary, and he barely won.
All right.
So it's making a difference in close races, absolutely.
I think that's 100% correct. Kind of like Andrew Breitbart used to say, politics is downstream from culture. The Texas House Speaker, in my opinion, is downstream from the open primaries. That's how we get these guys. There's a couple more things I want to talk to you guys about before we run out of time, so I have to budget the minutes here. But real quick, everybody in this room is probably considered to be, by most conservatives in Houston, on the farther end of the spectrum to the right? I would agree all three of us probably are.
Don and I are definitely, what did you call us?
Garbage Nazis.
Yes.
Deplorable garbage Nazis.
Yes, that's what we are.
Well, people lump me in with you guys. I'm not.
Yeah, you are too, yeah.
I don't generally get associated with the Dick Weeklies or whatever, but on that note, I will say this. Our lifelong votes along party line former Democrat lawmaker turned mayor, John Whitmire, who just got attacked this past week in a New York Times hit piece, probably the best mayor we've had in Houston the entire time I've lived here. I think
one of the best votes I've taken in a long time here in the city.
I tell people voting for Whitmire was the best thing Republicans in the city have done in a long time. Like he's a Democrat and he's liberal on some things, but he's not a crazy Democrat. No. And he is the best Democrat that you're going to find in Houston.
Yeah. And are you going to, and do you have a choice when it comes to, it has to be a Democrat. I hate to be the black-pilled pessimist, but do we have a choice?
Maybe someday if you had a Republican with name ID and/or a lot of money, but for the most part, Democrats just start out with a big advantage in the city.
Yeah, the last Republican we had elected as mayor of the city of Houston in 1978, Jim McCon.
Yeah. All right, the other race, that's true. And didn't they name a baseball field after him in Memorial Park?
I think so.
Yeah, the baseball fields. And every time I jog past it, I'm like, that's what we get. As local Republicans, we get this women's softball field. That is there it is. Jim. And he was actually considered to be a very liberal Republican in his day and age, didn't he?
Was. It's hard. I think he was much more moderate than I am today. But interestingly enough, his son is getting involved with politics.
Interesting.
And showing up at different.
Left or right?
Right.
Oh, cool. Glad to hear it. We only have a little bit of time left, so let's go from that to this. County judge race. After this election's over here in a couple weeks, in a month, we'll be all done talking about the prop votes and what have you, and then we will be on to the primaries for the midterms. Wesley Hunt, John Cornyn, Ken Paxton. Obviously, that's getting a lot of attention right now, but since we'll have a lot of time to talk about that, and you guys are both Houston specific. Let's talk about this instead. The county judge race is between Orlando Sanchez, Marty Langton, the fire union president, and apparently the HOA president of the Piney Point community. Would you, Don? Who are you leaning towards here?
Well, with full disclosure, I am longtime friends with both Marty Langton and Orlando Sanchez, and I like them both. I have known Orlando more as a Dick Weekly operative for many, many years. He was part of the open borders thing. However, I could, I've been a little bit disappointed in how should I say, people who Marty's dating lately.
Oh my. Let's get into that.
For the record, I've endorsed Marty Langton. That is not his personal life. It's none of my business. I will say this about Marty. Could you imagine before Donald Trump, the most popular Republican candidate to be the executive of the biggest county in Texas is a union president for first responders? And I mean, that's the world we live in now, is like suddenly a lot of blue collar guys in the Republican Party, firefighters and cops all get behind Marty. You have a differing opinion on this, Rolando, and I respect you, so I'm going to let you give it without interrupting you. Go ahead.
I first of all, I haven't have a favorite among the three. I'm still looking closely at them. The problem with Marty is, of course, we support first responders. However, his job as union president has always been one thing: benefits, to increase the benefits and pay for his members, and that's what he should be doing. However, that doesn't mean he's always been on the side of the taxpayer. So now that he's running for county judge, will he understand that you're going to be advocating for the taxpayer and not for government employees, because he spent his whole adult life advocating for government employees?
Years ago, you and I became friends because I learned that you were a guy that was really good at vetting candidates.
Yeah.
If you sat down to vet Marty, what would you ask him?
I would ask him, what proof can you show before you started campaign that you have fought for conservative causes and not just for better pay and better benefits for your members? What have you done to actually fight for any conservative cause? That's what I would ask.
Don Hooper, your reaction?
So I'll play.
White devil's advocate.
Yeah. No, I'll defend Marty in saying this, is that I had fought with the fire union for years, probably over a decade, with Marty and his guys. And then one day, well, actually two different things happened. One day, a guy, an illegal alien, slammed into the back of my car and hit me on the Southwest Freeway hard enough to pin me in the front. And I was able to free myself, but my knees were pretty badly damaged. And one of those great big old huge pumper trucks pulled in behind me, and I was in the fast lane when this occurred, and turned on its lights. And I'd always been real critical of Marty in the fire union. Why are you always sending a pumper truck and an ambulance to an accident or whatnot? And at that moment, I realized why they did that. And traffic was very heavy that day. And luckily, the person was caught who hit me, and it had a pretty good outcome, but I was very happy. And then the other thing that happened was my mother fell in her retirement home, and I was pulling in, and I was following this fire truck, and you have this thing, God, is it, hope they're not coming for my mom,
Of course not. Yeah,
500 people. And sure enough, I get upstairs, and she had this unit that was combined unit up on the top floor, and they were there for her, and she had a thing on her neck and pushed it, and even the building didn't know that she had called the fire department.
Wow.
And they got there, and I was very, very pleased with all that. Now, so my thinking kind of changed on that, with being critical on them on some of their expenses. And I have seen Marty involve himself in some conservative causes and support my wife and I in some conservative activities that I probably shouldn't talk about, that had to do with the district attorney's
Swingers
office.
parties?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah, over at the district attorney's office.
Cool. Kim On knows how to party.
Marty has a chance when I air criticisms of him, I actually want to hear from him. Like, I want him to address all these concerns with Republican voters, and I'm hoping, he could win me over. And we have three credible candidates. You mentioned, Eliza Dutt, who's the mayor of Piney Point, or you refer to as the HOA president.
I'm just impressed how much she cleaned up Piney Point. She got the homeless off the street, the crime, the vandalism. How did you make Piney Point so nice?
I know, it was a total turnaround, was it? But, whether it's Marty or Rolando or Eliza or anyone else, there's three questions any Republican primary voter needs to ask these candidates. One, how are you going to be able to raise money? Harris County it's bigger than the state of Louisiana.
Sure.
You need to run $1 million campaign. Two, can you appeal to independents and moderates?
Great question.
We've got to win those over. And three, are you going to govern as a conservative? Those three questions we need to be asking all those candidates.
Rolando Garcia, Don Hooper, I loved having you guys in here today. I want people to follow both of you on X, on Twitter, whatever. It's X. We can call it X now. I'm Kenny Webster. I love you all. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon. Please, if you're watching us streaming on social media, share this video, tell your friends, subscribe to the podcast, shop at ilovewj.com. We'll be back bright and early Monday morning for more of what you bought a radio for.
You are listening to the Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Tell the government to kiss your ass when